So let's launch in. Let's have a crack at this. So I've already done my drawing on here, of course. I understand where my lights and my darks are, and I've already, oh dear, what is going on here? Sorry, it's all this stuff going on that's beeping and flashing at me, and I don't know why. Okay, and I can't stop it from doing this because then I'm turning my sound off. Okay, so I've done my drawing onto here already. I've done a little bit more detail down here than I wanted to, so I might just knock some of it back before I get carried away. The other thing to think about, and Rita, we've talked about it, is no black underlining. Yeah, so for you and anyone else who feels a little bit like you've got a similar kind of problem, just don't have black in your palette. Yeah, no black, no Payne's grey. The world is not outlined in black. Okay, that's just enough to knock it back. I've made a few marks on here for myself to remind me about where there are some darks. There's going to be some darks in there. I might just do a little bit of a pencil down here. So when I was drawing, one of the other things, actually, I'll just cover this quickly. One of the other things that I was thinking about was, when I was doing this, is how high is this, for example, compared to the Fruttivendolo stand here? And they're actually on the same kind of level, and you might not necessarily want that in your painting. You might need to change that, because if you've got a line all the way across in your painting, you might cut your painting in half. So I've just done a little bit of a jiggery pokery thing and just changed sizes a little bit, moved things down a little bit to hopefully tell my story a little bit better. So you can see that my Fruity Vendy Man is, that's it there, is a little bit further down in front. This is going to be a little bit of a quiet area. It's an interesting shape in here. I've got no squares. Squares are your arch enemy. Yeah, don't have any squares at all if you can avoid it. So I'm going to prep my brushes, which I didn't do earlier. So I'm going to use my natural bristle 1 inch and my 1.5 inch. For those of you who weren't, oh gosh, some of you who weren't in the evening class last week, I think actually I did put a link into the notes somewhere that artsupplies.co.nz to have these 1 inch brushes for $48. Normally they're about $90. So I think they've got the wrong price on. So you should get in there quick if you want one, yeah? Whether they've still got them or not, I don't know. I don't think they get hundreds in them at a time. And I'm also going to prepare my round brushes as well, because I know I'm going to need them. But I'm just going to prepare them by putting them in the water and my little rigger. Get them damp. Chuck them over there. Put that there. Might need my might need my sponge. So I'll get that ready to go. Make sure there's no dry patches in your sponge at all. It must be thoroughly wet. Right, that can go there. I'll put it over there. Oh, it's going to fall off the table. That's the only thing with sponges. They fall everywhere. And I might just shift this block a little bit. Give me a little higher. Okay. Okie dokie. Right, well, I'm going to get started. I have swapped out my colours today. I have added into my palette light red, and my blue today is going to be Windsor Blue red shade. And the reason I'm doing Windsor Blue red shade is because of all of this yellow on these walls. And if I use green shade, I am likely to come up with a neutral, nasty shadow color, which I can't stand. Yeah, I prefer, I don't like neutrals. Yeah, I haven't said that right. I like neutral colors. I don't know how to say it. But I don't like a color that's neither warm nor black. I want it to be warm nor cool. I want it to be a little bit warmer or a little bit cooler. I want to use temperature to help tell my story. Yeah. So I need cooler colors in my background and I need warmer colors in my foreground. Warm colors recede. That's not right. Oh dear. Cool colors recede and warm colors pull forward. There's a better way of saying that and I can't think what it is. Okay, so I'm going to launch into my sky puddle of water. Hopefully you can see that little bit of blue, tiny bit of can't think the name of the color, Winsor and Newton Windsor Blue red shade, a little bit more color. Yeah, it's a bit of a puddle there. I've avoided that. I'm just mixing a little bit over here. Oh, wrong color. I've been using the green shade for quite a while, so I'm quite likely to do something a bit daft. Not particularly concerned about not particularly concerned about making sure I cut around everything. And that's because if I cut around everything, I just find that everything looks static. It just has a very tight. And I think to let your colors flow a little bit. You don't be frightened of them running into where they oughtn't to be. It's not a necessary thing. Right, a little bit of my yellow ochre, a little bit of water. Oh, it's mixing in with the blue. A little bit more water. Here we go. Whack it in. Little bit of that light red. Now, it's quite a bright color. Light red is akin, it's the same pigment as transparent orange. A little bit more. Sort of change things up a little bit. And I know that in this under the roof overhang here, the eaves of this building, I know that I'm going to paint a dark. So I'm not worried about I'm not I'm not worried about painting over it because I know I'm going to paint over it later. A little bit of burnt sienna maybe. A little bit heavy-handed with paint. Where's the surprise? In actual fact, okay, right, I'm a little bit lost there, coming right down here. Right down there, across there, and down there. Add in a little bit of raw sienna, but I don't know if I've got enough on my palette to do it. And I'm painting around the white of the umbrella. But I'm going to go straight through under here. And around the top of the people, yeah? So at this point, that's about as far down as I'm going to come. I'll just give it a wee spritz. A little bit more of that raw sienna, but it is dry in my palette. I hadn't thought to use it today, to be truthful. I think I will come all the way through here. Should have come down there with the blue and I didn't. Never mind, I can solve that later. Okay. Just dropping in some more colour. And don't forget that it is going to dry a little bit lighter. Excuse me. A little bit of that light red. Not a colour I've used very much before. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. Right, and I need a round brush. Trusty number 10. A little bit more of that. And I think I'm going to dirty up the sides of these buildings a little bit. So when I say dirty up, I guess in a way, some of that colour there, I guess I'm neutralising a little bit here. So you can see I added in a little bit of blue, and what that's done is just made a darker, neutral, brownish, whatever it is, yeah? So I'm just splashing in. I think a good time for splashing in colour or spattering, whichever way you want to put it, is while it is damp and not too much of a value change. Oops. If you've got too much of a value change, sometimes it'll just be the only thing that the viewer can see. Okay, now, actually I might stick with that, but I will need to get rid of some of that yellow in there. I think just a little bit of water. I'm going to have to keep my eye on that. I'm likely to miss the optimal time for putting in the windows, yeah? And the window, popping the windows in this side of the building is very important, because if you put them in too dark, they're just going to attract attention. And although that would be a nice place for people to look, this is my focal area. So I think it's really important for you to be considering, for us all to consider, where is the focal point? What do I need to be doing? How do I get the viewer to look at the focal point rather than into the wrong place? So even though our picture tells us that some of these windows are quite dark on this light building, if I go too dark here, then all the eyes go there and that's it. And then your painting's all over. There's not that much coming back from it. So just need to think about where you want things to go and what's going to make people the viewers look at your paintings. Okay, this might be a little bit too small, but I'm doing it anyway. And I'm just putting in some not too much. And I might drag some of this up into here because this is going to be like a terracotta thing. And this is terracotta on the top, so I might as well just do that. Ooh. Nowhere to put my fingers to hold me steady. And I had a cup of coffee. Woo. Okay, that will do for now. Okay, and this is going to have a darker value all over. I'm going to glaze it over at some point soon. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on here because there is a better process for doing that detail, and that is after I've done that glaze. But I still want to do this part of it because this is going to help me understand what I'm painting and where I'm painting. And a little bit of a roof line along here. I'm just doing these now just so it gives me a little bit of a path to follow. Okie dokie. And this looks like it could be a good thing to do right now. Wondering where that brush is. I wonder if that will work for me. What I have marked on here is perspective lines. I've marked perspective lines for the verticals. So the windows are getting narrower and narrower as they are moving further away into the distance. And I've also marked horizontal perspective marks for the tops and the bottoms of windows and doors. And they're following a vanishing point, going something similar to that. So I'm just using a flat, this is actually an acrylic painting brush, but it's quite handy. It's quite a long bristled brush. Can you see that? And it's a 1/2 inch. This is a Daler Rowney. I think it's called a Sky Wash. I need to check the shape of that. Right. Okie dokie. And I think for windows, I'll start off with a coolish colour. Something like that's, oh yeah, cheapers have gone black already. Look at that. Oh, yuck. I'm just tapping into my alizarin to make a violety colour. But as I said, I don't want to go too dark. So I'm just going to reduce my value by just diluting it on my brush a little bit, yeah? That's better. A bit blue, a little bit more red. And I just want to bring some of these windows down. It's a little bit dry, drier than I wanted it to be. More diluting. The trick is to keep your verticals vertical. Stand up. It's not the right brush to use. Quite liked this window here with the open shutters. Quite damp on this side, but dry on that side. General shape will do it, I think. That will do for now. See how it's all fuzzed out. And that's really just because I've got a lot of water on here. There's still quite a bit of water on there. Okay. But not too great a value change. I might mix in a little bit of a green. Ooh, I wonder if I can mix green with that light red. Let's test it. Light red with, no. Oh, look, but it has made a very beautiful grey. How lovely. It's because they're too transparent, yeah? I think when you get colours that, you know, you've got different qualities like granulating and stuff, and you're trying to mix two different kinds of paint, like a granulating with a granulating or a granulating with an opaque, they might not mix that nicely together. Some colours do, some colours don't. No, I think that's about right. It's because that one hasn't come up. Okay, I'm going to leave that for now. Okay. Oh, but I was going to do a green, wasn't I? So let's try Windsor Blue with a little bit of burnt sienna. Greenish, but not green enough. And I didn't want to introduce a yellow, but I'm going to have to. And I'm not going to use yellow ochre because I don't think it's a nice mixer. It's not my favorite thing. And I don't want too green. I don't want too pretty and too nice. I just want a hint of a green. And maybe a little bit up here as well. That will do. And then, whoops, there's my head in the way. A little bit of a darker under here. Whoop. Oh dear. Just a little bit of a light in here, not too much. Okay, that'll do. I'm just sort of thinking about when to do that glaze over here. Not yet, I don't think. Okay, still a violet. It's going to come and do in here and some of those windows up here. So this is my first wash for my windows. So I don't want anything too dark. Just trying to get over here. And I'm just running a little bit of water in just to give it a bit of texture. And I might use that in here. Can I get over there with my big fat elbow? And I'll put a bit of green in here as well for the shutters. Okay, windows. Oh, might do a little bit of a shadow over here because I think this is dry now, over this chimney pot. I need to do more on that one, so I'm not going to do that one yet. Okay, windows. Knock them back a little bit. And a lighter value to start with in the doorway. And this is going to give you a little bit of room to play. If you go too dark too soon, it's all over. Let those colours bleed in. I picked up a little bit of that brownie muck that I've got there. Oh, is that where I wanted it? Oops. Carried away. A little bit more of that violet-y colour. I think the other thing about talking about colour and avoiding things like black and stuff, using colours like violets with your yellow ochre and browns, for example, the complementary colours on the colour wheel are violet, not black. Yeah. So let's have a look at yellows and yellow orange. What have we got here? Yellow brown. Okay, well, let's go. Oh, let's see if I can do it this way. I'm going orange, yeah, because it's got a neutral burnt sienna-y type color, yeah. So if I use orange, yellowy oranges, these two colors, and I come out to my split complementary, I come out to violets and blues, not black. Black is important in some places, but not in here. Can't remember where I'm going. There. Oh, I really should. Oh no, I've already got it there. Okay. I'm not trying to do squares. I'm trying to create a little bit of blowing in the wind sort of thing. And I'm going to use that lovely light red, I think. Ooh. Interesting. I've put it there, so I really need to have it here as well. That'll do. Okay, now I also added some lights under my umbrella, some of those big round ones that they use. So I'm just using a scrunched up piece of kitchen paper. One, two, three, four, five, the different sizes, I'm okay with that. So I'm going to leave that to dry before I do anything more. However, I do need to come down here a little bit more for the doorway. I'm not lined up very well. I haven't put the, not pointy enough. There we go. Okay. Right. So some of you, we've been talking about doing people wet and wet. Here's a good opportunity. We'll do some more tonight. So they're not entirely wet and wet. Can I make them more wet and wet? Let's have a crack at it before we talk about anything more. So how did I make that green? I can't remember what colours I used. I think it was New Gamboge. That'll do. Okay. So a little bit of greenery going on in here. It's not a very nice green. Ooh. That's possibly a little bit better. Let the colours blend in. I don't know whether this one is behind this person. It must be in front. There we go. Just making my green a little bit darker. Oh, not that dark. Goodness me. That'll do. And just let it run around. You don't have to do anything to it. That's the really cool thing about it. A little bit of burnt sienna. This is really just what I call an underpainting, meaning it's my first wash, my first pass. Some things are going to need more, some are done. Okay, people. Okay, so I've grabbed a couple of smaller brushes and these people here. So I'm going to start off with some burnt sienna and I'm going to do a head. This person is facing this way, so I'm just going to do a little bit of skin, little arm. Not entirely wet and wet, but, you know, closest thing to what we've got just at the minute, yeah? Okie dokie. Legs. No need to do any feet or anything. Okay, so this green is overlapping onto this person. If I try and put red in there while it's wet, I'm just going to get a brown mucky neutral look. So can't have that. So I'm ignoring that one for now. I wonder if I could do yellow though, that yellow that I used to make the green. I wonder how that would work. And see, I've left a little bit of white. I'm just going to drop in some water. That's not too bad with the yellow. Let's just keep our eye on it. Okay, and I'm going to go alizarin crimson. That's sharper than that, I think. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. this lady's got, she's got a red top on. And I've only painted half of it. Wet my brush and just drop some water in. Doesn't matter if you leave any areas that are mixing and blending with each other. It's not important, yeah? But the best thing you can do to get your people shapes even better is to keep drawing and keep, oh, look at that. Keep drawing, keep practicing, don't stop. Okay. Wanted to do that part tonight. How are we going to do that? Okay, I'll just have to have a think about that, how I'm going to do it. Okie dokie. All right, so that's 3 of our people. This lady in the background, she's got a white dress on. I might need to give her a little bit of a George with a little bit of a light grey, perhaps violety grey, something like this, because her dress is not going to be white under an umbrella because she's cast in shadow. Okay, right. Right, while I'm there, I'm just going to let that dry, I think. Yes, I think I'm going to let that dry. So under the umbrella, I'm just going to go around a little bit with a little bit of violet. So that will deepen the colour under here, but also make some of those lights pop a little bit. Because they're almost, it's funny how it's drying in some places and not in others. So just cutting around them. Okay. Soften a couple of edges, not necessary to have all of that. Cool, and then a smaller brush. Right. Might need a pot plant under there. Wait and see. And just around this stand as well. Actually, I was going to put more, leave that more highlight, and it didn't eventuate. And this is kind of what I mean. It's a good idea to leave a little bit of extra light if you can, just around the menu on the stand. But nothing even. The book's all folded badly, the menu book. And just softening that a little bit. Okay, right. Still quite bumpy and quite damp. So I still can't do anything more there. So I think that I will move on and do some here. So I haven't done any chairs and I haven't done any tables. I usually do them last. Right, Fruttivendolo. How does this work? Okay, bit frightening. Where is my pencil? Just going to bring that down. Okay, and that's a little bit of a sneak of the other stuff coming through there. So this is light in here. Okie dokie. And there's my, he actually looks more like a chef than he does anything else. Okay, now what the devil am I going to do with this? Well, I think maybe to start with violets and browns. Just looking at all that fruit in there. Another way to do that would be to put the fruit in, just a mass of colour into each of those boxes, and then let it dry and glaze over it. Well, maybe we'll have a crack at that and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to use the same colours that I've used before. I've got light red, and I'm going to use that for those, for the mandarins or whatever they are in this box. And I'm just painting a mass. Here's coming out. And then, ooh, bananas. Oh, that's not too shabby, actually. Oh, bananas. Still a massive shape here. And then a little bit, maybe some apples. Okie dokie. Right. Just gonna stop that. Okay, lesson learned. Yeah. Lesson learned. All right. So I'm just wondering if I'm going to wing it. I want to do that glaze over there, and it is dry. It wasn't dry this afternoon, but I'm wondering if I can wing it and do it this afternoon, tonight, because my problem with painting in the evening is just simply that I don't see the values the same. So I think I'm just going to have to work hard, and I'm just going to do a very quick glaze over that, because I want the shadow over the whole thing here and down into here. So I'm just going to wet my palette. So for those of you who weren't here this afternoon, the colours that I'm using are yellow ochre, Windsor blue red shade, alizarin crimson, and burnt sienna. And I think I dumped in a little bit of raw sienna as well. Just looking, oh, and I was going to use that light red as well. I'm a bit scared of it. So that's what I've been fooling around with today. Okay, so I'm going to try and do a glaze over. So you can see I've already got some color and some placement of some objects in here already. My goal is to paint around the whites of the umbrella. I'm just going to say that again. My goal is to paint around the white. Okay. The other whites that I've got planned, can't remember where they are. Initially, I was going to have the menu board as a white because my light's coming this way, and I thought I could do that. And of course, when I painted it, I didn't do it, which is very typical of me. So, you know, don't paint like I do. So white there. Where was the rest of my whites? I can't find them. I think I was looking at the side of the building and keeping that very, very light. What I don't want to do on the side of the building is make the windows very dark, because then I think, see, this window is a lot smaller than this one next to it. Okay, that's why my eyes going a little bit funny. I just wanted to remind myself of that. Okay. So I'm leaping from this umbrella, from the white here to the white here to the white over here, the light over here. And I think I'm going to have to put some light in here somehow as well. Maybe down something like that. And then there's a white in there. I'm going to put white there. That's my little weird W's. Can you see them? I'm just going to do them here for you. This is what I do in the white areas because I'm daft. White, W, yeah. And then a shaft of light coming down through here and through here. And I'm hoping that Bob's your uncle. That might not be that shape. Something like that, maybe. Okay. All right. So might as well launch in, yeah. So I think I'm going to use my big brush. And I've got some really nasty water there. But again, my goal is to paint quite a light value. Oh, very frightening. I nearly started singing then. Okay, so there's a little bit of my yellow ochre. And to get this kind of hue, which is a dirty yellow ochre, how am I going to dirty it? I think I'm going to dirty it with, we should have done that first actually. I'm going to dirty it with a little bit of a violet. So I've got three primaries. I've got yellow ochre, I've got blue, and I've got red, possibly a bit too much red, a little bit more of that blue. And you can see I'm just tapping it, yeah? I'm not digging at it. I'm being a good girl. And I'm just going to sneak in and pick up a little bit of that yellow ochre. So you can see it's a dirtier colour, somewhat similar to that, possibly could have a little bit more yellow, a little bit more of that. It's not too shabby actually. So this is glazing, yeah? The purpose of glazing is either to make something recede or pull something forward. In this case, we're making it recede because it's going to add the shadow over it. So I'm going to launch in. Is it strong enough? And it's a little bit green. I'm effectively going over the whole thing. It's nice and transparent anyway, so I'm happy about that. The wash that I'm putting over it, beg your pardon. So you can see that the color of this is pretty neutral. It's but because it's transparent, it's going over transparent, I'm going to be able to see some of the other stuff coming through from the other side. I'm just going to go right through there and right through here. I'm going to take that right through so I don't have any lines. I don't think it's necessary to do that. Right through there. And this is a good reason to have a lovely soft brush. Because with a brush that maybe, and I don't have one to show you. I used to have one. I don't know what I did with it. Maybe I biffed it out. Like an acrylic. Oh, look at that. Oh dear. Let's get rid of some of that and I'll come back to that question in a minute. And I'm just going to go around here, but I also want to follow the photograph because there's some lovely light on the top of those little shrubs and things. Might need a smaller brush to do that. No, haven't done a very good job of that either. Never mind. If I make this darker, so if I add in a little bit of burnt sienna, maybe, a little bit more of that, a little bit more of that, a little bit of that. It's a little bit neutral and nasty. Ooh. Excuse me. Oh, sorry about that. So I've just added in a darker around there just to pull the light value of that shrubbery a little bit closer. And a little bit of ochre just on top of the violet that I've painted for that menu board. So all the time I'm thinking, while I'm painting, I'm thinking that's violet, it's going to need a yellow next to it. This is green, it's going to need a violet next to it. This is red, it might need green or violet next to it. Because typically for me, I would paint in a tertiary, a secondary palette of green, violet, and what's the other one? Green, violet, and orange of some description, yeah? So dirty it up a little bit, okay, and I need to come in here. What am I doing in here? Done. And there's this person here. So as luck would have it, we're going to have to paint a person. Got a couple of blooms going on, yay for me. All right, and so I'm going to start putting in that greenery in there, and I wonder if I can get some of that. If I should, I'm going to use my synthetic brush because then it's got not too much, doesn't hold too much water. This is the light red. A few too many seagulls up there. Okay. Okie dokie. So I need some greenery in here. Too many brushes out. Can't figure it all out. I think I mixed the greenery here with New Gamboge and a tiny bit of that blue for the highlights, the light areas. Let some of it join up. There's no harm in doing that. bit more of that blue. Maybe a little bit of burnt sienna. Ooh, did I try that red before? Oh, that's interesting. A little bit dull. Let's see. Ooh, very green. Oh. That's better. And just a first pass. For these pots. Okay, and the reason I wanted to paint these around at this point was because I want to paint him wet and wet. I want to use the wet areas around to drag into to that person standing there. This is probably going to need a glaze over it as well. Okay, so it's just giving me some wet areas to play around with. I just want to use the bigger of the two. This is my number 8. So I'm just loading my brush with a little bit of skin color. Possibly a little bit dark, but never mind. And then I've left this white area, so I'm just going to use the water on my brush to create a little bit of a shadow. Now, he's supposed to have a black apron on, but I don't want to go straight to black. In fact, one of the things that we discussed today is I would really like it if you've got any black or Payne's grey in your palette to get rid of them, because I think you will become a better painter without them. I think it will help you to see more without them. I think we're too reliant on them. So I'm just mixing up a violet. Whoopsie, no, I'm not. Look at that. Going through that again. There we go. Oh, needs to be a bit cooler. And here's his apron. Now, I got a bit of a problem here. Look at the bottom of the pots, bottomly pots, and the bottom of this, and look, I've put his apron right at the same place. So I'm just going to make the apron a little bit longer, which is hopefully therefore going to make a nicer shape here instead of a line. So if I was to leave that, it's like creating what they call a tangent. Oh, and there's another thing under there as well that I can't quite figure out what it is. I think I've mucked up and lost some of my drawing, but that's too bad. That's the way it is. Okay, so what we can see is that the color from here is running into the underpainting for the apron and all the way through there. That's what's happening, is the colors are running in, and this is my first pass. I could also pop a little bit of water in if I want it to run a little bit more, and just cause myself a bit of a bloom and let the colour run and use that bloom as part of the underpainting, part of the texture for the painting. Okay, so I've done that part, but I am going to do the shadow part, and this is something else that Yuki's been thinking about, and part of her next question. Oh yeah, actually I'll leave this for now and we'll discuss it first. You okay to discuss your shadow, Yuki? Yes, good. Okay, so Yuki's question about shadows. Yuki has read in somewhere that there are warm shadows, because a couple of weeks ago, I guess that we had a bit of a discussion about cool shadows. Is that what made you think about it? And she says here, are you able to show us when and where to use warm shadows and what colour it would be? She goes on to say, does that mean that the strong sun can show through the cool shadows and make it a warm colour? The orange yellow impacts the orange yellow from the sun. Is that what you mean? Impacts on the cool shadows and changes the colour of the shadows. And she's curious about this, and she's right to be curious about it. It's a very interesting subject. 1 second. Just going to soften an edge or two while I'm there. Yeah, forgot about it. It's all done. It was just there. It just hit me in the face. Okay, so shadows. What I found interesting, Yuki, I did a little bit of research, and what I found interesting was that in all the discussions about cool and warm shadows, the writers used images of other people's paintings to describe the shadow and to discuss warm and cool shadows. And I thought that was very interesting, because we're not really seeing what the artist was seeing. Were they seeing a cool shadow or a warm shadow, or did they create a warm shadow because that was what their painting needed? And I'm of a mind to say, I think they painted what their painting needed. Yeah. However, the color of the source of light, as you suggest, does make a difference. And the color of the surface where the shadow is falling makes a difference. So, for example, in one of the examples that I looked at, they had it was, what was it? It was, I don't know if it was carpet or if it was just like a really dark, I think it was carpet, and it was under a table, and it was a dark brown carpet. And so it was a very beautiful, rich, warm brown. And so they put a glaze of a cool over it. No, I've said it wrong. I just can't quite remember what it was. But okay, well, let's go from there. So let's say that you've got a table and chairs outside, and they're sitting on red terracotta tiles. Yeah. So it's a warm surface with the red tiles. Yeah. So if you put a shadow over that, a cool blue shadow, the shadow is probably going to be a warm color, because it's got the warm color underneath it. So if you had, just trying to think what would be outside, that would be like an ochre color on the ground. Can't think of anything. But for example, if you, well, I mean, how different is it from having this? Yeah, not really any different from having this. So you've got a yellow as your underpainting, a yellow as your foundation color, and then you're putting a form shadow or cast shadow onto it. It's going to be a warm shadow. So this is warm because the base tone is yellow underneath it. Yeah. And then I think you've also said, so I'm just trying to make sense of it, trying to make sense of my answer to you, beg your pardon. I think that the differences can be so subtle that I'm not really sure how important it is. So, for example, if you had a still life setup, it might be important because you've got big objects in front of you and you might have a painting this size, yeah? Can you guys see me okay? Yeah, good. So you might have a painting this size and you might be doing a still life onto it, yeah? In that case, the vase, the flowers, the coffee cup, whatever it is, they're quite big and they're in your face, yeah? And so therefore the shadows might be more important. The danger is, and we've kind of touched on this in the past, is that if you were to make your shadows quite exciting, they might take over the painting. And you might be left with a painting that's about shadows and not the still life. And so I think that it's one of those things where man on a galloping horse. And I don't know how many people have got the vision or knowledge or observation skills to really see those subtle differences. And yeah, I'm just not really sure that it makes very much of a difference. Having said that, for your own paintings, it might make a difference. And you might say, well, I'm going to do a study of shadows and I'm going to do that for the next 10 years. Why not? So I think the key again about that is to paint from life, sketch and paint from life within the bounds of doing what your painting needs as well. And that unfortunately really only comes with practice and experience. But I thought it was very interesting. I checked out about 3 or 4 articles on shadows and stuff, and they all did the same thing. They had paintings, but they didn't show any. Here's my painting of what I did at the scene, and this is what it was like. Maybe I've got my own that I could look at. I might have a look at that. Where, you know, like I've been painting on plein air, and I've taken a picture of my painting with the subject in the background. Don't know. Often I'm too far away to be able to see those things. So it's an interesting thing, and I think we should look at it more and think about it more, and we should be questioning these things. And I think it was a really great question. Thank you very much, Yuki. So I hope I've answered you, or at least given you enough to say, shit, that's rubbish, I'm going to go and look up for myself. So yeah, I think it's one of those things that's well worth investigating and continuing to think about, because it is relevant. And I think also, you know, I was about to say to you before, while I'm painting, I'm thinking, you know, I've got violet here. What's going to make the violet stand out? It's going to be green, or it's going to be burnt sienna. Yeah. And it's the same thing with your shadow. Here's my shadow on here. And I'm just trying to think how to word it, whether it would work. And I'm bringing my shadow up into here next to the ochre of the building. So I need a cool violet. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to say about what your painting needs. That's what this is what this painting is going to need. It's going to need a violet in there. Yeah, because there's my orange, there's my green, violet's missing. I need to put that in. Yeah, but I do think lighter value shadows, I think, are more practical for most things like this. Otherwise they take over. This also leads me to, you know, the thing we were talking about before about with Payne's grey and with blacks, is that they don't really provide you with a complementary, harmonious and harmonious uniting element to your color palette, your colorway that you've selected. Yeah, they're opposite white, lightest light, darkest dark, and we do use the lightest light in our painting, but I think that they don't really add very much value or enough value to a watercolor painting. And I think there's something to be wary about. Definitely something to be wary about. Okay, so does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. We'll talk about it more though, because it's one of those subjects that you should discuss frequently and often. Thank you very much, Yuki.
Sure, thank you for explaining this.
So I'm going to go in and do this foreground, and I need to do it much lighter value, so I need to dump some water in, and I need it to be cool. I need it to be a cool shadow, because I've got these warm buildings up here, and this is part of my value plan and also part of my my palette plan. This is my dominant color. This yellow is my dominant color, and the violet is my non-dominant color. And I think another thing to think about, Yuki, is what pleases you. And there is no harm in you pleasing yourself and what you like for your painting. Yeah. And I think it's a very important thing for you to please yourself and enjoy it and like what you've done. Okay, that's a bit too blue. But I do see colors differently at nighttime, so I'm just being a little bit wary. And more water, yeah, a lot more water. So I'm going to go in here to start with. And I'm going to bring it down here. Well, I'm getting into dangerous territory, so I'm starting to have a little bit of a hissy fit. These ladies are all in the shade, bang, but more, I think, more color. Stronger value is what I should say. He's probably got a bit of a shadow underneath him. Just want to make sure that my shadow shape is an interesting shadow shape. I don't really care where the light's coming from. I'm doing what my painting needs. Rightly or wrongly. Hopefully I'm right. There's not much place that I can put a shadow down there, but I'm just going to have to use the corners of my brush to do it. Did anybody buy one of these brushes, by the way, from their art supplies?
I had a look, but I couldn't find the right one.
Oh, okay. Maybe they've sold out already. Just going in now with stronger paint. This one's a little bit violet now, which is interesting. It's going to be a little bit different. There it is. And I'm going to be brave with my new, can't remember the name of the color, light red. Woohoo! There's your warm shadow, Yuki. The another interesting thing about shadows is that I have had the experience, and I don't know if I can recreate it for you, of seeing an object, let's say an orange, no, that's not a good one, let's say a red apple, and being able to observe green in the shadow color. And it's very interesting. So whatever the object is, and I just can't remember how it all happened, and somebody had set it up and I can't even remember who it was. There's a little bit of texture in there just because I feel like it. And I've got a line and stuff going down here that's not going to be very pretty, so I need to get rid of it. And that's all going to have a bit of a glaze over it as well, because I'm assuming, oh yeah, look, whoopsie, see the shadow down here underneath, it will all be behind here. Okay, right, so I've done the that light red. I do need to get more of that light red into the building. I don't know how, but I'm gonna. Little bit of yellow ochre. Cool, let's just see how that works. A little bit of a hard line, but maybe it will soften itself, maybe it won't. Maybe I need to spit in it. And then I need to take care of that. I wasn't going to take care of that tonight. Oh no, I was, wasn't I? Jude, what did I say I was going to do about the Fruttivendolo?
Sorry, what?
Did I say what I was going to do about the fruit stand, the kiosk?
Yes, you were going to use the sponge to get rid of the fruit, and you so haven't done
Oh,
it.
you said that. I didn't say that.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh.
Oh. Fine.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Okay, so I can do the Fruttivendolo, yeah? Okay, right, here we go. Okay, right, very neutral colours. I've got a light in there. See my little squiggles, and a light in there, more squiggles. Okay, well, I think that what I'm going to do is go in with a dirty something. Let's turn that light away because it sits right in my face. So this is my underpainting for this part. Quite happy for colours to run. Crikey, whose idea was this?
Who did that?
And I'm just going to drag some of that in here and let it run and do its thing. I think that brush is too big, scaring the daylights out of me. I don't want to be too accurate, but I want to be, and again, need some of it to run. If it's not running, it's not a watercolor. Oh dear. Mixing up some darker value, but I've got way too much water, and because oh look, I've already got a bloom there. I didn't even notice it. Because I've got quite a bit of water down here, I need to get some of that water off my brush. I don't know if I've done that successfully, but I hear they're getting ice cream. I can hear them talking about it in the lounge, but they don't know there's no ice cream left. Oh, ha, ha, ha. What was the shape of that? Okay, I think that I can just go over this whole area and not worry too much. But I do want to pick up some more of that light red. I think I'll go to the smaller brush than this. This is the 1 inch. Where is it? Oh, there. Okay. Do I want that? I don't know what to do. It's almost like Venetian red, but nicer. Now, I've got orange and I've got violet, so I'm missing green, yeah? So I better do something about that. So there's my phthalo blue, little bit of my gamboge. Ooh, that's nice. Maybe I just need yellow by itself. It's so dirty with blue that it's quite green anyway. Here we go, that'll do. Okay, now I need some softened edges. And I'm kind of okay that some of my boxes and things are not straight and they're all different sizes. I'm okay with that. Trying to use just straight color of that yellow. That's new gamboge, but it's looking a bit green and probably just because it's dirty in my palette. And I'm using the herbs and whatnot to help me describe the shape. Whoopsie. Of this sign. I wonder if I need to go up a little bit higher. Okay. And maybe I need a terracotta pot or two. And so this is all pretty much wet and wet. Sorry, having trouble seeing because of the light shining. It's actually shining in the water of oops. Ooh. Crikey. Just trying to make a darker green. Ooh. Just need a bit of that in one thing. Okay, that'll do. Let's just see. Okay. Still shaking in my boots. Is that the one? Might be too big. Okay, so we're going to do oh, I think it was like mandarins and whatnot. So if you look at the colors that are in the photograph, we know they're mandarins or oranges or something here. But the orange is not particularly bright because it's in shade. Yeah. So I need to go to something that's a little bit muted. And I'm probably going to have to do some sort of glaze. Because the boxes are white, and of course they shouldn't be. Need some apples. So I'm just really doing a blocking in of apples. The whole shape of a bunch of apples. Oh, cutting around that little price sign. And these ones should have something around them as well. And I think I need some green apples. And I'm just going to drop a little bit of water in just to get some of the colour moving a little bit. Oh, and I had some bananas as well. Crikey. Oh, really scary bananas. And again, do you know that Luca was the major banana reseller in Italy during World War II and before World War II? How interesting. They actually had banana shops. There we go. That will do. Not a very banana-y yellow. but they are dark anyway, in the shadow part. And then I'll have to come in and do something. What can I put in here? I've got red, I've got orange, I've got green, I've got yellow. Maybe I need some green capsicums, maybe. And I might come in and do a little bit of brighter yellow, but that's going to need some sort of glaze over. I don't know what they are. And what color is a pineapple? It's kind of goldy, isn't it? I'll think about those ones later on. Okay. Okay. Just going to check my battery for a second. I think I'm going to check my battery. I am okay for a moment. Right. Okay. Little bit of water on a brush. Just get a little bit moving, or it's a little bit tidy. Just a little bit fun. Okay. And I think I'm going to go like this.
You're a wee bit sideways, Amanda.
Oh. Thanks, Jude.
No worries.
So I'm effectively going to use similar colors that I've already used. I don't know. They're all pretty neutral colors in here. I don't actually remember the colors. I'm just going to use what I think best and what's going to work for my painting. A little bit crooked. I'm a little bit lost. Oh, okay, this was the sign. Okay, so that becomes quite dark in there. I think that I will, what will I do? Go darker. So violet is the color, the darkest color, almost actual color that we can mix. It's a little bit warm. Just looking back at that photograph. Oh, okay, got it. So now I'm just negative painting around some of the things that I know are there, letting some of it join up. And letting some of it run into other bits and pieces. I don't know what this is. I made it up. Might not be a good idea, but it was kind of like a basket. A little bit of line work here and there. I think that was actually a sign under there, and I've morphed it into something else. The underside of these boxes are dark. And there's a little bit of a white something there. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it matters or not. I'm going to ignore it for now and leave it. And just see what happens. Oops, a little bit warm. Ooh, too warm. Oh, yeah, see? A lot of red in it. Using some clean water to come down and do whatever, create a little bit of a value. So it's separating the fruit stand from the wall. I'm not sure if it's a good idea, but I've done it. Because this is damp, it's all kind of morphing out. I've got way too much water going on. I'm just going to get rid of some of it. Okay. Let's check to see what this light red will be like. I'm going to get my hand over it. Tutti frutti.